Welcome to the lesson recording for week 5 in computer fundamentals. And if I go to week 5, you can see that week 5 is the advanced analysis unit. And as usual, I split the work out. So on Tuesday, you'll go through section 2 and finish up project 1 work. Then on Thursday, you'll finish up project 2 work after you look at sorting and filtering. This is half of this advanced analysis unit. In week 6, we'll do the other half of the advanced analysis unit. A couple of reminders: if you haven't done weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, please get those done prior to that. Also, project videos down here. I'll have a week 5 project video to help you do a couple of the assignments that we have. So please get caught up if you're behind. So moving down here a little bit, here we are in week 5. And of course, in week 5, just like always, you'll do the Class Connect write-up, and I'll address these things as you go through this recording. So explain what formulas and functions are. Give an example of the sum function on a range of cells. How does the count function work differently from count if? What symbol is used to get absolute reference rather than relative? So we'll talk about these things. So let's go down to section 1. And here we are, and we're talking about advanced analysis with Excel. And of course, this is going to be advanced analysis on numbers, right? Because Excel allows you to manage large spreadsheets, and spreadsheets usually are made of numbers. So if you jump in here, starting to talk about formulas. So we're going to learn some techniques with referencing different cells by the ranges, absolute references, etc. So we'll explore different techniques in Excel, generate data using formulas, generate, format, and modify spreadsheets in Excel. The first thing to think about is, what is a formula? Well, a formula is a math equation, just like in algebra y or geometry, y equals mx plus b. Or if you're using Excel, you'd use a formula like this because the numbers are in cells in Excel. Then a function is a predefined operation, just like the word sum. So Excel knows that if it sees the word sum with the equal sign, that it's going to be doing math on it. So that's how sums, or how functions and formulas are different from one another. Now here's a tutorial about ranges, and I'm going to do a little sample tutorial to show you this, but watch this video when you get a chance. That'll show you about how ranges work. And ranges, what we mean, like you could do a sum command like this, and that would add up all of these cells. But that would take a long time to type if you had like 38 items, right? Look right here, I could do this simple sum command right here. I only end up having to type about 10 characters. Up here I would have had to type about, if I was adding up 33 numbers, I would have had to type about 100 characters if I was going to do it this way. So using a range is much simpler. So I'll show you that in a minute. We'll do a little bit of practice with that, but watch this video to see how to do that. Adding and deleting rows, we'll do some practice on that, but you can look at the demo to see how to do it. Analyzing data. And when you analyze data, some of the things you might think about, what are the transaction types? How many different transactions are there? How much money did customers pay? How much money did we spend? How much money do we spend altogether? So you can see you can analyze data for lots of reasons. And when you analyze data, you need to look at specific pieces of it. And that's called filtering. So whenever you're in a spreadsheet, you would select the range of the transactions that you want, and then you would do the filtering command to look just at those specific records. So here's a little tutorial on filtering. Then there are different commands. This is the count command. And the count command, that is a function. So that's a function, then you enter a formula as part of it. And this would count items only if they met certain requirements. So that's the count if. Then the regular count command, the count command would count how many there are just in the whole column. It doesn't matter what the parameters are. So that's the difference between count and count if. Count would go ahead and count everything. Count if would count everything that meets a certain requirement. That's where the if comes in. That's called the parameter. So maybe if we wanted to count only the customers that spent more than $100, we'd use COUNTIF for that. But if we wanted to count all the customers that came in that day and brought us business, then we would just use the count command to count everything. Get the remaining counts. So this just talks a little bit about how you end up getting a little bit of a remainder. Now there's more about the count function. This talks a little bit more about the example that the presentation has. And the problem that you get when you do count and sum and formulas and things is you have something called a relative reference and an absolute reference. A relative reference, you'll almost always use that. And I'll show you in a little bit how those things are different. But this little video, that'll explain relative reference, so you can look at that. But then many times you'll want to use what's called an absolute reference. And to make something an absolute reference, you would put a $signs at the beginning of it. So you can see that as opposed to just this. And I'll show you a sample of that in a minute. COUNTIF, talked about that. So you can see how you had to use the, in this example she had to put the $signs in so the math worked out the right way. And so the copying of the formulas work out the right way. And then she just went and she could check to see their answers were correct. And then sum, you can sum different types also. Remember we just talked about the COUNTIF, where you would count up things only if they met certain criteria. Well, you can do SUMIF too. So SUMIF would add up all the items in different different cells, only if they met certain requirements. So only if the numbers are over 100 would it add them up. So again, sum, you would add up all the numbers. Count would just count how many are in the whole column. So in summary, so we looked at filters, absolute reference, count function, COUNTIF, and SUMIF. Now next is the assignment, the assignment number 1 for this unit. I'll create a separate recording for that. So now I'm going to take a little bit of time to demonstrate some of those things we just learned in this unit. So here I have a sample spreadsheet. So the first thing right here, if we wanted to total up all of these, easiest way to do it, right at the top of my screen, one second here. Easiest way to do that, top of my screen, here's a sum command. So I hit auto sum, and look, it adds those things up automatically for me. Another way to add things up, I could do equal, click there, and hit comma, space, B6, comma, space, B7, enter. I get an error on that because it's not put in the right formula, and I have the word sum at the beginning. So this is where it gets really tricky to do things without using that automatic sum command. I could do this, equals D5 plus D6 plus D7, and that does it. So either this command right here or this command. Which one was easier? Well, this one was very easy to do, wasn't it? To do this one, I just hit the word auto sum up there, highlight the numbers I want, and hit enter. Now another way to do this, I can do it manually in my head. 400 plus 80 is 480 plus 25 is 515. Oh wait, no, that's not correct. So if you do it in your head, there's a chance of an error, right? So we know this answer is actually 505. But watch what happens here. What if my rent actually goes up by $50? So my rent is $450. Look what happened here. This one changed automatically. Type 450 here. It did not change automatically because this was typed in manually. That's why you want to use these, I call them automatic formulas, to do your work. Now another instance would be, maybe we didn't have to pay rent that month. So if I right click on that whole row, delete it, look, math didn't change on this one. So that's why you want to use formulas and functions rather than manual. Now the next thing I want to show you is the absolute reference. I'm going to type in here 20 points per, or no, $20 a day. So maybe I get $20 a day. And here's February, March, April. So in February, I work 15 hours, March I work 20, in April I work 25. I want to see how much money I can make. Actually, I'll make $100 a day. That's more reasonable. So if I want to go right here, I'm going to do math on this. I'm going to do equal this, asterisk this, enter. So 100 times 15, that's 1,500. So if you look up here, there's the exact formula for that, right? Easy to do. I can copy formulas down. So I'm right here, and I just click that, and it's going to give me the same formula, and that'll make my life so much easier, won't it? Boom. Well, wait, it didn't. Because 20 times 100 is not 0, and 25 times 100 is not 37,500. Let's see what happened here. So we started out with a formula called that equaled 1,500. And it was this times this. But look, when we copied it down, H4 turned into H5, and I2 turned into I3. Further, when we go down to this one, H4 turned into H6, and I2 turned into I4, because they moved. The formulas changed as we moved down. It's called relative reference. Now, many times you'll use that, but oftentimes you have to have absolute. So watch how absolute works. I'm going to delete those two wrong formulas, so now I'm here. And I want this to always do math on $100. I want this times $100, this times the $100, this times $100. So I want this part to move, but I don't want this part to move. So now I'm telling it H4 can change to H5 and H6, but don't you dare change I2. So now I'm right here, and I'm going to drag this down, and now see what happens. See how the formula's changed? I2 stayed the same, but the H part changed. So that's called absolute reference, and you use the $ to do absolute reference. So that's the important part of these, and if I took all of this, maybe let's see, maybe it's supposed to be like this, and that was April, I messed up, this is May. So April was 17, and now I can go right here, copy that down, so you can see how once you have those formulas in, things work out properly for you. They work out the right way. So what I've tried to explain to you is how you go about putting in formulas, and how using formulas is much better than using manual. Now the other thing I want to think about, if I want to count up how many items I have in this column, and that doesn't mean, it means the numbers of entries. So I'm right here, I'm going to go up to Formulas, Function, I'm going to choose the Count function, okay, and then I want to count these items, so I do those, then I hit OK. Now this tells me that there are 4 items in that column. If I add another one in here, that added the count for me, didn't it? Now there are 5 items in this column. So that's how the count command works, the basic count command. So you've looked at count and sum. So that's just some demonstration for you on the things that were covered in section 2. Let's go back to the Class Connect write-up and see if we answer those questions. Explain formulas and functions are in spreadsheets, yes. Give an example of a sum function on a range of cells. So it would be equals sum, and then in parentheses whatever the range of cells is with the colon in between. How does count function differ from count if? Well, I talked about that, but if you don't remember it, then you can go look that up and give me the answer. What symbol you use to get absolute rather than relative? $. All right, section 3. Explain what sorting in a spreadsheet is. Explain the difference between ascending and descending. And then finally, and give an example of when you would use a secondary sort. So now we're going into section 3 and sorting. So this says, imagine you look at all the names in the phone book if they weren't in order. How would you ever find anybody's name? Or if you have to go to a locker in the gym and the locker numbers were not in order. It'd be impossible to find things, right? So sorting puts things in some order. So sorting is the process of organizing data or objects in some order. So we're going to look at the process of sorting and how to use sorting in Excel. Now here's a man, he wrote a book called Information Anxiety. That for most people we want to sort by the name, location, time, those different categories that we're used to. Now to sort on a single column, so watch this video, here's an example, and all you do is you just highlight and then do a sort. So if I go back to my information, so maybe I want to figure out, I want to put these months in, I want to figure out the months that I made the most in. So let's put June right here. Oops. So I'm going to go right here, and then I'll hit Data, Sort, and I want to sort this, which month I made the most in, so that would be column I. So I choose column I, okay. And you can see that it moved things around. March and April switched places. So now I can see which months I made the most money. If I wanted to sort it alphabetically, then I do that, sort, and I'm going to sort it on column G. Now it puts things alphabetical order. So you can see how that can work. If I wanted to sort it all highest to lowest, I would use Z to A, then I would sort on column I. Now that put all the money highest to lowest. So you can see how sort works. Multiple columns of data. This video will show you how to do multiple columns of data where you do a sort within a sort. And again, there are the directions on how one would do that. Secondary sort. So secondary sort is actually that's the sorting within a sort. So you would first sort, like this one sorted probably by date first, and then you could put the items in alphabetical order. So sorting within a sort would be when you would have to sort something that you've already sorted, you would sort the second time on a different criteria. Here's how to do a secondary sort, so watch that video. Ascending versus descending. Of course, highest to lowest would be descending order. Lowest to highest would be ascending order. So 1 at the top to 100 at the bottom would be ascending. And then A to Z would be ascending. Descending alphabetically would be Z down to A. So we looked at how to sort columns, multiple columns, and sorting orders. Okay, now into filtering in section 4. And filtering, that's the way to just look at specific bits of information. But we better go back to the Class Connect write-up and check our questions. So explain what sorting is, difference between ascending and descending, we did that. Example of when you would use a secondary sort. In section 4, what does filtering allow you to do? In a spreadsheet, how can you easily choose the whole spreadsheet? So we're in section 4. So let's say you have a spreadsheet with thousands of items. How can the filtering? What filtering does is it lets you look just at specific parts of data. So we're going to look at the filtering command and look at auto filter. So as an example, maybe we had 48 students, but we wanted to figure out all the students had a grade point average of over 3, all the girls on the basketball team, the students who like science, etc. That's how you would filter for specific items. So look at this presentation. It tells you about filtering. And to turn on auto filter, you select the whole spreadsheet, and to select a whole spreadsheet, you do Control A. Then you do filter, auto filter. So Control A is the key that can select your whole spreadsheet for you. And And you can also filter within a filter. But watch that video that shows you about filtering. And you can do customized filters, comparing GPAs, GPA filter, etc. So different ways to do customize. You can put things that are equal to a certain thing, greater than a certain thing, or less than a certain thing. So we looked at how to turn on autofilter, how to filter categories, how to do custom filters. Now this assignment I will also create a demo for, because it's a little bit tricky, but this is going to be using the same assignment that you used in assignment number 1. So that's all the recording that I have for week 5. Again, that's sections 1 through sections 2, 3, and 4. We've answered all of these questions. You should have the answers to all of those. So you'll submit that, and then I'll have the demonstrations of both Project 1 and Project 2 for this unit. So for this part of this unit. So thanks for watching. Again, that was everything for week 5. Then week 6 we'll be finishing up the advanced analysis unit. Thank you. Looking forward to your work.